the Arctic region is at the center of world affairs, a region of tremendous opportunities, but also a region facing enormous challenges.
The real spill over the situation, what is now going on in Ukraine, also to be connected here in the Arctic. What we want to see here is stability, but what we are witnessing is more military presence and activity, and that is the direction in my mind that we are heading to.
There are a few strategic consequences that we can draw for or we could derive for the Arctic post Ukraine, let's say. First, sadly to say, the Arctic is no longer an exceptional area of peace. This is a fact. We think when we talk about the Arctic, and this conference is actually organized this way, in terms of the security dimension, the economic dimension, the environmental dimension, the energy/environmental dimension. Russia does not care about the last two. Ukraine has clearly demonstrated that when it comes to hard security and economy, Russia will care about hard security. It will not care about the economy. It does not care about sanctions. That's lesson number 2. 3, expect Russia to want less NATO in the Arctic, because Russia wants less NATO everywhere. Russia will continue to push for the Arctic being treated in isolation because it is benefiting Russia. They will not want to talk about the Arctic as part of global strategy. And finally, number 5, which is China.
Let me begin with something that is blindingly obvious, and that's the primacy of climate change. Because if we begin to think about the full impact of climate change, this is altering the dimensions at sea and making them easier, but making life ashore more difficult.
We need to develop expertise in the field. We need to have our own opinion on how we want our defense conducted. But maybe in the case of Iceland, we may need a small defense force to come to immediate rescue if something happens. Maybe that is most important for us here in Reykjavik until bigger forces arrive.
So the Arctic is the smallest ocean that we have. It has the potential to bring about together 75% of the world's population. It has 13% of world's oil reserves and 30% of gas reserves. And in addition to this, climate change is making new trade routes possible throughout the Arctic. So the question is, and we'll try to tackle this in this panel, is how can the West and how can the EU harness these opportunities a little bit better?
We are not approaching the opportunities in the Arctic based on content, based on the real effects. It is increasingly being approached by image, by package. We need to make use of these opportunities. We need to agree on certain guidelines, but within those guidelines, make the most of human willingness to experiment and to build something better, to create value and wealth. I think these things can go together, but only if we approach it on the basis of real content, not packaging.
We are, of course, a very small nation and we depend on others, but what is it possible that we, as a semi-Arctic nation, has done that other nations can learn from? It is our system of fisheries management. Iceland is about the only nation in the world that conducts a fishery which is both sustainable and profitable.
When we talk about climate change, everyone imagines the ice caps on the North Pole melting. They picture those images of polar bears stranded on icebergs and so on. But of course, as we've heard, it means much more than that. It also means it's opening up the changes in this area, are opening up a vast array of new opportunities as well.
The party that breaks the sort of tacit agreement, like the Russians might want to do, will benefit initially because they can go out and fish a lot. and then the others will be forced to follow suit, and that can lead to a collapse and everyone loses. And for a very long time, even decades.
For me, the question is, can we stop climate change? Can we stop it? I'm very in favor of phasing out fossil fuel, I already said that. But we have to do it in a way we not are weakening our economy. The European Union, they are for 9% responsible of the greenhouse gas emissions. So it's only a little part.
I understood that it's possible also thanks to Iceland, thanks to Arctic region, to preserve our standard of life while combating the climate change. Because based on geothermal energy, we can, of course, produce more electricity, we can keep your standards, but it doesn't mean that you have to change your society.
So I think one of the interesting points to take from all three presentations is the gulf between what we feel ought to be done and what it is that the international institutions are doing. So I'd like to ask, as a good believer in the free market, where are the market solutions to these problems, and why is it that the United Nations, the European Commission and other organizations aren't implementing it?
Iceland is in many ways in good position with regard to climate mitigation. Perhaps no country is as well ahead in clean energy transition as Iceland. We have almost 100% of our station energy, electricity and heating, accounted by renewables. We are number 2 in the world in moving towards electric cars. Still, we have set ambitious goals to continue on this path. We want to be the first country in the world to abandon fossil fuels and to work together, and we aim to become carbon neutral before 2040.